You Booked It, episode 215. What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining me today on You Booked It, the #1 podcast where you learn how to create a successful entertainment career. Have you joined the You Booked It community yet? It is your go-to entertainment career resource. Inside, you'll have direct access to Broadway performers, Emmy nominees, and people just like yourself navigating this industry. Learn from those walking the walk. Build industry relationships, access unlimited masterclasses, and learn how to book the job more consistently. Join free today. Tap the link in the show notes or go to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite to get inside. And now, let's meet today's guest. All right, let's kick off today's interview. I am excited to introduce my guest today, Ztilo. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready, man. What's going on?
Brilliant. All right. With nearly a decade of experience as a recording artist under his belt, it's hard to believe that Ztilo, who first hit the scene under the moniker Styles, is still months away from turning 30. The Bay Area product emerged in 2012 with his undeniably infectious hit, Good Times. The aforementioned single quickly opened doors for the young rising star. And in the next 5 years, we would see Ztilo collaborate with numerous artists, including Mr. Fab, Fora, Kirko Bangs, along with dozens of live performances in some of the biggest markets in the country. Ztilo, that is a very quick and concise intro of who you are and what you've done, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and fill in the gaps a bit, and a little bit more about what you do as a professional in the entertainment industry?
Yeah, man. I appreciate the intro. So yeah, just got my start as Chris Styles as a rapper and had a slew of collaborations. So some local, some from other markets, and did a lot of cool things, man. Been a part of a couple tours, had some radio singles, had some high performing videos, but ultimately I ended up taking a hiatus as an artist and ended up repackaging myself as an R&B singer. And that came pretty organically just because even when I was rapping, I was always a songwriter and for the most part would write the hooks for a lot of the
Mm.
singers I collaborated with anyway. So, now that we're strictly in a more singing R&B Latin pop lane, it just feels organic, but I went ahead and changed the name to Stilo, which was unironically always my nickname. So there's some continuity there, but just taking off from where we left off, but in a new chapter, so to speak.
Yeah, very cool. It sounds like it just kind of went into like an alignment really with what had always kind of been there.
Exactly.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I'm excited to dig into this interview, but let's move on to our first section here. And Stilo, look, I am a sucker for a good quote. What is your favorite quote you'd like to share with everyone?
Man, so I could think of a lot of quotes, but I'd probably have to go with, the only time you really lose is when you never try.
For sure, I love that. Can you expand on that a bit and how that is you've really applied to your life?
I'd say that pretty much defines me. I mean, ultimately, I'd say that a lot of people that I know, or a lot of us know, won't even attempt something. They either fear the rejection, the judgment, and to me, that just doesn't compute, right? It's like I would rather attempt something and fail and hold my head high that I went for it than to avoid that entirely by not even, taking a step forward and putting my foot into that. So I think that applies to anything. It doesn't have to be entertainment, career. It could just be any life goal and aspiration. It's better to try and not succeed than it is to avoid trying entirely.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I really like that. And you know what I love about trying things, right? Obviously, when we are trying new things, we aren't, we don't lack fear or lack apprehension, right? It's that you just push through it, right? And
Exactly.
you keep expanding that how large your bubble of, okay, where are things a bit uncomfortable, like that new, like the bigger comfort zone. It keeps getting bigger and bigger the bigger the project, right?
Exactly.
But I think what sometimes we forget about, or a way I like to help people kind of overcome that is, you got to think, all right, yeah, you're feeling all this anxiety, this fear of like, okay, doing the thing, right? And like, what ifs, right? But when you start looking from the other side and you go, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? And when you really start laying it out, is usually very little, right?
Yeah,
There's hardly any downside and total massive upside. And really it's just a bit of emotion getting in your way. So you go, oh, if you can actually make it quite a very objective kind of thing to do that can help you get propelled over that edge.
exactly. And that's the having your eyes on the right prize, which is, you know, not the outcome, but just the attempt itself. As long as you attempted it, then you already won. You can respect yourself for that.
There we go. Well, let's get into this next section here. And Stilo, of course, you're an entertainer. I'm an entertainer. And I think that you'd agree that this industry can be one of the most subjective, brutally honest, and personally emotional industries in existence. And you know as well as I that in order to create and have a successful career in this industry like you're having now takes a lot of dedication and hard work. And while, yeah, there's an outrageous amount of fun and excitement doing what we do, there are also our fair share of obstacles, challenges, and failures we're going to experience and we're going to have to move forward through. So tell us, what is one key challenge, obstacle, or failure you've experienced in your career? And how did you come out the other side better because of it?
Man, that's a long list. But
I don't, you got to choose one.
yeah, I could
Choose one.
choose one. Yeah, I'd probably, first one that comes up would probably be fallouts. And, I mean fallouts in terms of personal relationships, business relationships.
Mm,
And those are tough to get through because, whether it's a team that you had, that you built, that you had momentum with, or somebody that you were depending on to keep their end of the deal or their word, there's no shortage of opportunities to hurt your pride in this industry. And I think
mm.
that to sustain motivation and optimism sometimes when your expectations aren't met, but me coming out on the other side of that, it strengthens you in a way where your expectations and you take that on the chin and become a bit less codependent too. It's at the end of the day, it's like, you're not here to make friends. You're here to be successful. And sometimes, that's going to come with wins and losses.
I agree. I think in the beginning, those fallouts, as you put it, well, I guess it's never fun, right? You never enjoy a fallout or some kind of being let down in some way, right? But do you find that it starts affecting you a little bit less? Because you've seen it right before, and it comes up and it's really difficult.
That's a good question.
And then as you keep moving forward, you're like, oh yeah, maybe it's almost like you don't want it to happen. It's not that you expect it to happen, but if it does happen, you go, all right. You just like strap on the boots again. You go, next, let's keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it affects you less, but I think that you become prepared to deal with it. So I think
Mm,
that I think that a gut reaction might be to stop letting people in and develop a trust issue and things like that. But ultimately, it's not about not letting people in. It's about having awareness that when you do, there's always that possibility that things they might not turn out the way you want to do. And that's not that they affect you less, but it's now you have a now you're prepared to deal with it. You're not left guessing.
love that. Love that.
Did you know building industry relationships are the most important assets you need to create a long lasting entertainment career? And don't take my word for it. Guest after guest here on the podcast have attributed some of their biggest career moments to their relationships. That is why you need to get yourself inside the You Booked It community. You'll learn what you need to do to get noticed and make sure your headshot stays in the callback pile so you can book the gig more consistently and create a successful career. Tap the link in the show notes or go to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite to get inside free today.
Let's take a moment to move on to a time that I like to call your spotlight moment. That one moment in time you realize, yes, I am going to be an entertainer for a living, or maybe it was, yes, this is what I need to be doing in this industry. Tell us about that.
Oof. So I could probably go back to a really early age. So I'm thinking of a time in middle school where, we had a school wide rally and basically our school in the gymnasium and on the stage they were doing, different games or contests and things like that. And one of them ended up being a rap battle. And,
Ooh.
I was already the kid who, was rapping on cassette tapes and, freestyling at lunchtime and things like that. So everybody who I was
Yeah.
sitting, they were just pointing at me. And at that point, but to go up there. And, my opponent he was at a disadvantage because little did he know that I was actually really into rap battle culture at the time. I grew up watching Freestyle Friday on 106 & Park, following, these internet rap battle lanes and platforms. And so we went up there. I don't even remember. He went first and I don't even remember what he said. That's how irrelevant it was to the story. But I basically, watched him and just getting that reaction from the crowd where probably, that was definitely my first experience controlling a room, controlling a crowd. And it may not be the moment where I decided that I wanted to do this, but it was definitely a moment that reinforced, the feeling that I wanted to chase, right? The reward of
Yeah.
getting that affirmation from a big, audience.
Oh, yeah. So good. And I want to piggyback on that real quick and talk about your number one booked it moment. Walk us through that day. What was going on in your life? And what about that moment makes it your favorite booked it moment?
It's a lot of highlights, but the one that probably I still hold to be one of the most special is, how I got on radio, for
Mm.
my first radio single. It was, it's a really good story, man. So basically there was this contest, some weekend contest where they play two songs by underground artists and then decide, which one is the winner or something like that. Like a one-off, one-time thing. And basically, you had to enter that contest. And so I don't know why they didn't just accept an email or something at the time, but you basically had to go up to the radio station, present yourself, present the song, and then they'll see if they'll enter you in the contest. Now, I was commuting probably an hour away. My car was on the verge of breaking down. There was a bunch of traffic. And I kid you not, I probably got there at the most 5 minutes late and they didn't let me in. So
Oh,
they
no.
were probably on some high horse, but ultimately they're like, look, you know, we can't let you in even if you're a minute late. And so it was devastating because up until that point, everybody that was in my circle or in my support system, we were looking at this like a huge opportunity. And it was something that I felt like I screwed up. You know what I mean? And interestingly enough, because I screwed it up, I ended up running into somebody who gave me the contact information for one of the DJs, like one of their direct contacts. And
Oh,
look, man, like, sorry to hear that. Sorry to see you're upset, but, take what you will with this contact info and, maybe you have better luck reaching out to him directly. And I'm like, all right, whatever. At the time, it's like, I have nothing to lose. Um,
right.
so I had to get on the phone, tell all my friends, all my entire team, like, look, guys, like, not only do I have bad news, but we didn't even get the shot. We didn't even get the opportunity, and it's my fault. And I remember saying, I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I guarantee we will get on the radio. And I don't know to this day, like, what my plan was, but it was just a feeling where I knew regardless of what it takes, like, I will make up for this. And I ended up reaching out to the DJ and basically just said, look, man, I have this song and I want to see what you think to see if it's something that can be played on radio. And ended up meeting up with them, some DJs from the station. They took a listen to the song. They said they were highly impressed. They said, look, this is a great record. And ultimately, it ended in them saying, look, we want to start playing this. And that call to my team after that meeting was entirely different, right? Look, it- we're about to have the biggest opportunity, of our lives. And I think that to this day, the reason it's so special to me is the dynamic between where I was in life, the level of opportunity probably can't be recreated. You know what I mean? It's like being down to your last, being that young, being that desperate, being that, helpless in terms of finances, life situations, whatever the case may be. And to be given that opportunity, it's like, man, that was definitely a special time. And just the lesson to be learned where, you can even turn your failures into successes. So it's not about losing or winning. It's about what you do with those losses and how you pivot from there.
What you do with those losses and how you pivot. That's so good. Yeah, I mean, where there's a will, there's a way, right?
Exactly.
And who's to say, that situation of not getting to the place on time and then having that contact, just given to you, you know, was the more direct, more successful route
Exactly.
in,
Exactly.
in the grand scheme of things, right? It's crazy how this world works,
Right.
hey? Man, that's so cool. And from there, obviously, we said in your bio, that kind of made things take off a bit for you for as well, right?
Yeah. I mean, that jump started everything. That's when I went from this obscure local act that, only the people who went to school with me knew about to, a big, having a huge song here locally. And, that just kickstarted the whole thing.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, that leads us into this next part here, and I want to take a moment to talk about the present. What projects are you working on now? What are you looking forward to? And how do you see the entertainment industry moving forward in the next couple of years, considering, what's been going on this last 18-ish or longer than that months with the pandemic?
Good question. So first part, I mean, we're always working on music, but we basically have we basically almost have the next project done. And so we pride ourselves in having a diverse mix of music. So whether it's Latin and it's all Spanish, whether it's R&B, or whether it's a little bit more hip hop or pop, and not only just displaying the versatility, but being able to reach an audience that maybe resonates with one genre over the other, and then bringing them all together. You know what I mean? That's a part that's rewarding for me. And so, a lot of new music on the way. We're just getting that put together, getting that wrapped up. And I mean, as far as where I see the music industry, that's a tough question because I don't know if I'm necessarily qualified to answer that, but I think that just based on my observation, technology is going to continue to dictate where this industry goes. And, if we're looking at the last 18 months where we've seen, a shift in just how much power there is in an artist reaching their audience directly, I think that we're going to continue to probably see a correlation with technology evolving and an artist being able to directly reach the consumer. And we'll have to see where it goes from there. I mean, if you think about 10 years ago, we were still handing out CDs, right? So what's to say in 5 years we won't be using the same social media or streaming platforms that we are today? It could be something we don't even see coming.
For sure, I agree. I had a guest on a while back. His name is Cliff Goldmacher. He is a songwriter. He's based out of a couple different places, but he's a Grammy mentioned artist. He's worked on a couple of different like huge hits, and he's very much involved in the music industry, of course, but also on the how do we make this fair? How do we get the artists that are, have all of their music on these different streaming services? How do we make the financial aspect of the industry make more sense and be more fair to the artists that are really providing the content on all of these platforms?
Right.
And it was really cool, and because I've talked to other artists and things, and they say, it's on one hand, it's brilliant because you can go direct to your audience and you can really niche things out and you can get a lot of exposure, right? And you can publish your own things. But on the flip side is that you don't have the label, you don't have necessarily have the label, or you don't, it's harder to break through the noise because you might not have this giant marketing PR team behind you. There's pros and cons to the
Always.
music
Yeah. Always.
landscape right now, right? And I thought it was really cool that he was one of these people that is being outrageously active in that space, trying to work on making this thing fair, whatever that means, right? But also trying to understanding that it needs to adapt and change within this new dynamic.
Right.
And it is time to move on to one of my favorite sections in the interview. I call it the Grease Lightning Round. I'm going to ask you a handful of questions. I want you to answer them as quickly and concisely as possible, one after another. Are you ready?
I mean, I'm as ready as it's going to be, man.
All right. First question. What was the one thing holding you back from committing to a career as an entertainer?
Responsibilities.
Second question. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Whew. Don't give up.
There we go. Third question. What is something that is working for you right now? Or if you'd like to go pre-COVID, what was working for you before our industry took kind of a pause?
Say direct to consumer marketing, man. Just not being afraid to reach out to people directly and send them your music.
There we go. Fourth question. What is your best resource? Whether that's a book, a movie, a YouTube video, maybe a podcast or a piece of technology you found is helping your career right now.
Oh, YouTube for sure.
Fifth question. If you had to start your career from scratch, but you still had all the knowledge and experience you've collected from your career in this industry, what would you do or not do? Would you do anything differently or would you keep it the same?
I'd get to that meeting on time.
Yes. Last question. What is the golden nugget knowledge drop you've learned from your successful career you'd like to leave with our listeners?
I say that it doesn't matter how easy or hard the journey is, because the only people that get through to that other side are the ones that push through it and hustle. So it doesn't matter who's at an advantage or disadvantage, who's talented or less talented. It's just about who's going to put the work in.
Do the work, right? It's interesting because there are people, that inherently have a bit of a leg up, right? Or people will say that natural talent thing for, like, say, sports, right? Yep, that always gets you to a point. Advantages get you to a point, but eventually everyone gets the even playing field and you have to do the work.
Exactly.
There we go. And to wrap up this interview, Ztilo, it is time to give yourself a plug. How do our listeners connect with you? Is there anything you want to promote?
Yeah. So social media, regardless of the platform, at Ztilo Music, ZTILO MUSIC. We have a project coming next month that just summarizes the releases this year, man. No Hard Feelings, the EP. Whether you're a fan of Latin music, pop music, R&B music, we have everything for you. It's going to be a great body of work.
Beautiful. And for everyone listening out there, I've put the links to all of Ztilo's social handles in the description of this episode so you can easily connect with him. And also be sure to share this podcast with your fellow entertainers, coaches, teachers, arts and entertainment educators, and anyone you know aspiring to create a career in the entertainment industry. You Booked It is the number one resource of expertise on how to actually create a successful entertainment career. It is integral to helping them succeed and helping you create a better, more fulfilling career in this crazy industry. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Ztilo, thank you so much for joining me today, coming on. I love getting the perspective of the music industry a little bit more here on the podcast.
Yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you so much for listening today. If you enjoyed this episode and want more like it, be sure to smash that subscribe button. Also, be sure to join the You Booked It community. Inside, you can connect with your people, build industry relationships, unlock unlimited masterclasses, and access the tools and training you need to create sustainable career momentum. Get your invite link right now. Tap the link in the show notes or head over to youbookeditpodcast.com/invite, and we'll see you there.